Cindy, and today I'm giving a speech, an informational speech on underage drinking in America. So underage drinking, it is a persistent health problem in the United States, and it has many negative consequences for our youth and our communities overall. However, there are solutions that can combat this problem, which I'll go over today. So when I was growing up, it was quite normal for teens and youth to drink. It wasn't necessarily looked at as a bad thing. And alcohol was very easy to access. It was easy to get, as we tended to have friends that were older, and we also had siblings that could purchase alcohol for us. So this was part of the issue. Alcohol was easy to access and easy to get. And we drank. And really, we didn't think much of it. It was just kind of a normal thing. No matter what group you tended to be in, alcohol was kind of everywhere. And people, teens generally speaking, tended to drink. One of my best friends, she went out and binge drank one night. So she drank large amounts of alcohol and actually ended up blacking out, passing out, and woke up a few weeks later pregnant. So she not only had unwarranted, unplanned intercourse, this issue of underage drinking affected her life in many ways and changed the entire trajectory of her life. So it was very challenging for her kind of to move forward academically as she had initially planned. So the CDC, the Center for Disease Control in the United States, has called underage drinking a continued persistent health problem in America. And we know this to be true. We also know that 90% of youth in the United States drink in the form of binge drinking. Binge drinking is when you consume large amounts of alcohol in a very short period of time to get really as drunk or as high as one can get. This is extremely dangerous because adolescents, youth tend to black out. They're unaware of where they are. They lose consciousness. They lose judgment and focus, and they make very poor choices, like my friend. Secondly, this leads to death. So the CDC did report last year in 2014 over 4,800 deaths due to alcoholism with adolescents. And not only that, they reported over 189,000 emergency room visits with accidents and illnesses due to this same issue. So we really can prevent that. This is a really serious problem. And it also costs the nation over $53 billion annually. That's a ton of money that we really could do without. Evidence has also shown that if you start drinking before the age of 17, you have 5 times more likely chance of becoming an alcoholic in an adult, having dependence issues, having tolerance issues. And we know that alcoholism as an adult is just a terrible, terrible disease that has many negative effects throughout life. So we really want to combat that problem and start treating it as a youth. However, we do know there's other negative effects. There's also assault happens, accidents happens, drinking and driving happens. Really poor academic progress happens in school for our adolescents. They get off the course of where they want to be and end up somewhere totally different down the road. So we really want to combat this from the young age and treat it effectively. Fortunately, there are actions that we can take in our communities and in our government to help prevent this, to help decrease these negative effects. So the IOM, that's the Institute of Medicine, along with the NIH, which is the National Health Institute, have come together with the Surgeon General to really call for action and to make statements, policy statements, regarding helping out our communities to decrease this problem. One of the ways to do this is through law and policy changes. We know back in the 80s that the legal drinking age was 19. The federal government coerced our states into passing the legal drinking age to 21. So it went from the age of 19 to 21. Evidence has shown that that has decreased some adolescent drinking across the United States. So that was a really good thing. Although, even though the drinking age is 21, we still hear reports of adolescents saying that it's very easy to access alcohol. Older teens tend to mix and intermingle with younger teens, making it easy for them to provide them alcohol. We still have older siblings providing alcohol, and we actually have a lot of parents providing their youth alcohol and hosting parties for their children as well. So this really gives the image that alcoholism is acceptable in our communities. So we need to change that particular image. One way to do that is through policies like dram shop laws and social host accountability laws. These laws basically hold adults who provide for minors accountable for their actions. The problem with this is a lot of these laws are actually not enforced very well. Our local law officers aren't necessarily educated on these particular laws, nor do they seek out individuals and actively enforce and implement these laws, which leaves this continued problem of underage drinking. So we really need to start getting out there and getting the word out there that these laws are important, these policies are important, and there's a high penalty, which right now there really isn't. So in order for people to follow laws, they have to believe there's a high chance of getting caught, so your probability is high to get caught, and the penalty for the action that you're doing is high. And right now we don't see that in our communities. So we need to continue to get out there, change policies, create new policies to support this decrease in underage drinking. Secondly to that is the social norm. So if your norm in the community is that drinking is okay for youth and teenagers, then they're going to think it's okay. So we really need to take this attitude of zero tolerance, which means that we do not tolerate youth drinking. It is illegal, it has negative consequences including death, and it's not okay for adolescents to drink, period. And so this is quite a change from many communities and from the way many people think. So let's get out there and really focus on that zero tolerance policy. Second to that is advertising and marketing. So we know as soon as you turn on the TV, what do we see? We see all of these images of teens and adolescents and young adults with alcohol. They make it look very attractive, they make it look very cool. And truly, it's not cool. It has negative consequences, as we know, and scientifically, it's very negative for our health and our mind for adolescents. So we really need to keep those images on more of a realistic view rather than this falsified fantasy view. It's going to take policies to change that as well. Thirdly, on top of all that is educational programs. We have tons of wonderful educational programs that are placed in school districts. So these are educational tools, they're evidence-based. They actually are very effective in helping youth, helping adolescents find ways to cope with peer pressure, ways to cope with underage drinking, and coping skills and problem-solving skills so that they will grow throughout their life. These programs are best implemented when they start school, so kindergarten, first grade, all the way up through high school. And they follow the kids as they develop and grow. And they've really shown to be effective as started at a young age. And lastly, I wanted to talk about increasing tax. So increasing revenue and tax on alcohol would also help this problem. We know that teens and adolescents tend to not have a lot of money, generally speaking. They're not working individuals, most often they're in school. And so as we increase taxes, we see the demand, for alcohol. It's harder to get as it's more expensive. And along with that, we can use this revenue to enforce more programs, educational programs, to pay for those in educational school systems throughout the country. So, to recap, we need to take a zero tolerance policy for our youth, that drinking is not cool, it's not sexy, it's not legal, and it's not okay. Along with that, we have several ways to continue to decrease this persistent public health issue. So let's get out there, get in our communities, and remember, it's not illegal and it's not cool. Thank you.